In a small, gray-walled apartment on the edge of the city, where the rent was low and the ceilings too high, lived a young married couple named Jim and Della Dillingham Young. They were poor in money but rich in love. The furniture was worn, the wallpaper faded, and the hallways smelled faintly of cabbage and hope, the perfume of every struggling household in the city. It was the day before Christmas, and Della was counting her coins. She had saved every penny she could for months, by bargaining with the grocer, cutting corners, skipping lunches, and walking instead of taking the trolley. She spread the coins on the worn wooden table and counted them twice. $1.87. That was all. 87 cents to buy a Christmas present for the man she loved, her Jim. She sank onto the shabby little sofa and cried softly. She had tried so hard to save more. Jim worked long hours at an office for little pay, and life had not been kind to them lately. Yet every evening, when he came home and smiled at her, Della forgot how small their world was. "Tomorrow's Christmas," she whispered. "What can I give him that's worthy of all his love?" She looked around the room. Everything they owned had been bought in better times, before Jim's salary had been reduced. But no amount of love could make $1.87 stretch into a grand gift. Then her eyes fell on the mirror hanging near the window, the only good mirror in the apartment, though it was cracked along the edge. She stood before it, brushing back her long brown hair. It shone like a waterfall of silk in the light of the afternoon sun. Della's hair was her pride. It fell below her knees when she let it down. Even the Queen of Sheba, O. Henry wrote, might have envied its beauty. But suddenly, a thought struck her, wild and daring. She held her hair close as though saying goodbye, and then quickly put on her coat and hat. She hurried down the street, the cold December wind biting her cheeks. The sign she was looking for swung creakily over a narrow doorway. Madame Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. Inside, the air smelled faintly of perfume and metal. A large woman, pale and expressionless, stood behind a counter. "Will you buy my hair?" Della asked, breathless. "I buy hair," the woman replied. "Take your hat off and let's have a look." Della unpinned her hair. It cascaded down like a brown river of silk. $20, said Madame Sofronie, lifting a heavy strand between her fingers. "Give it to me, quick," Della said. The scissors flashed. In a few moments, her long hair lay on the counter, and her head felt strangely light. With $20 in her pocket, Della rushed into the streets, her heart racing with excitement. She barely noticed the cold or the curious looks of passers-by. For hours she wandered through shop after shop. She wanted something fine and rare, something that would show Jim how much she loved him. At last, in a small jewelry store, she found it. A simple platinum chain for a pocket watch. It was elegant and understated, just like Jim. Jim's gold watch was his most prized possession. It had belonged to his father and his grandfather before him. Sometimes he would take it out, admire it, and then tuck it carefully back into his vest pocket because the old leather strap it hung from was worn and shabby. The chain cost $21. Della handed over the money with trembling joy. She ran home, clutching the little box as if it were a treasure chest, preparing for Christmas Eve. Back home, she looked in the mirror again. Her hair was now short, barely reaching her jaw. She tried to curl it with a few old irons, hoping to make it look festive, but the curls only made her look like a mischievous schoolgirl. "Oh dear," she whispered. "Will Jim still think I'm pretty?" Then she smiled. "He'll love me anyway for who I am." She made coffee, prepared dinner, and waited. The clock ticked endlessly. Each passing minute made her heart beat faster. When Jim finally came through the door, the world seemed to stop. He looked tired, but as soon as he saw her, he froze. His eyes widened, not with anger or disappointment, but with something else she couldn't name. "You've cut off your hair?" he asked slowly. "Cut it off and sold it," Della said quickly. "Don't be mad, Jim. I did it to buy you a Christmas present. It'll grow back. You're not angry, are you?" Jim simply stared at her, a strange, unreadable expression on his face. "You say your hair is gone?" "It's gone," Della said softly. But it was worth it for you. Merry Christmas, darling. Christmas tree, Jim's gift. Jim sat down on the couch, still silent. Della ran to him and put her arms around him. Don't look at me that way, she pleaded. I had to do it. I wanted to give you something wonderful. Finally, Jim smiled, that quiet, gentle smile she loved so much. Della, he said, nothing could make me love you less, but open this package. You'll see why I looked so surprised. She tore the brown paper eagerly. Inside lay a set of beautiful tortoiseshell combs, the very ones she had admired for months in a shop window on Broadway. They were expensive, gleaming with jewels along the edges. Della gave a little cry of joy, then burst into tears. My hair grows so fast, Jim, she said through her tears. Oh, these combs are beautiful. I love them. But my hair. Jim laughed softly and put his arms around her. Your hair will grow again, sweetheart. But now, let's see the gift you got for me. With shining eyes, Della handed him the small box. Here, Jim. I sold my hair to get you this. Isn't it perfect for your watch? Jim opened the box, and his smile deepened, both tender and sad. Della, he said gently, let's put our gifts away for now. They're too nice to use just yet. I sold the watch to buy your combs. For a moment, neither spoke. Then both laughed softly through tears. The irony of it all was almost too beautiful to bear. They had each sacrificed their most precious possession. Della, her hair, Jim, his watch, to buy a gift for the other that neither could now use. But in that tiny, dim apartment, surrounded by laughter and tears, they both knew they had found something far greater than any material gift. They sat together, hand in hand, the combs and chain lying side by side on the table, useless yet priceless. Outside, the snow began to fall softly, covering the city in white. Inside, the warmth of their love filled the room like a quiet fire. Jim spoke first. You know, Della, we're just like the Magi. The who? She asked, smiling through her tears. The Magi, the wise men who brought gifts to the baby Jesus, he said. They gave precious gifts, but none as wise as ours, because we gave from the heart. Della leaned her head on his shoulder. Then we're the foolish Magi, she whispered. Maybe, Jim said softly, but maybe the wisest of all. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. Della's short curls shone like bronze in the light. Jim buttoned his worn coat and prepared to go to work, his empty watch pocket a gentle reminder of love's price. They exchanged smiles, those quiet smiles that belong to two souls who understand each other completely. They were poor. They had lost their treasures, but they had given from their hearts, and that made them richer than kings. Of all who give and receive gifts, the wisest are those who give with love. They are the Magi, the bringers of true gifts, pure and precious, born not of wealth but of sacrifice. And so, in that humble apartment, on a cold Christmas morning, Jim and Della Dillingham Young became the truest of all wise men. Sometimes love means giving up something dear, a dream, a comfort, a piece of yourself, to bring happiness to another. In a world obsessed with what we can buy, the gift of the Magi reminds us that the most precious gifts cannot be wrapped. They live in the moments, the sacrifices, and the love that asks for nothing in return.